Okay, on a roll today. Gonna go ahead and show you my framework for how to produce and deliver an epic event that no one will ever forget. So, for starters, what is an event? A corporate Christmas party. Maybe it's a wedding. Maybe it is a rocket launch. Maybe it's just a night out to dinner. Maybe it's a family vacation. Maybe it is a roller coaster ride. All of these things can be an event. So understand this one thing. Actually, there are many things. I shouldn't just say one thing. Every event is going to have the three core components. They're going to be floor plan, timeline, menu. You can't have an event without those three. So floor plan, timeline, menu. Now, before we move on, I got to show you this other concept. You got to just wrap your head around a little bit. Here's the event. Over here is the memory plane. Okay, so epic events no one will ever forget. You have to have, some reference to memory or there's no point. So in here, between the event and the memory plane, right in there, we are going to drop in one ingredient. It has to do with nostalgia. So we're going to just drop in that ingredient. We'll get on that topic not right now. And then another subject, it's a concept that's most easily described as using the phrase, life begins when you step out of your comfort zone. So just like the time I joined that hula hoop contest and it was broadcast live on closed circuit television on the cruise ship when I came in second place. I'm never going to forget that. I was out of my comfort zone. Don't know why I did it, but now it's stuck in my brain. It's forever cemented into my brain. So life begins when you step out of your comfort zone. So those are a couple of things, just overall concepts to wrap around your head. Having said that, if this is one of the building blocks for producing an epic event no one will ever forget, remember this: an event, and I'll say this again later too, but an event can be a series of sub-events chained together. So you might have a 3-day event or a 4-day festival. So each of these is a sub-event, which is really within maybe one larger event. So just keep that in mind. What I'm about to show you is the part between the event and the memory plane. Actually, whenever the customer or the guest or the attendees enter, they cross through on the timeline of the day or of the period. They're going to cross through the event plane into the event and then into the memory plane and beyond. So that's what we're about to discuss. It is this area right here in between that we are going to address. So having said that, let me get to my fresh piece of paper. All right, so this is going to be, let's just say, in time and space, this is the event. So I want to try to demonstrate to you there is going to be the start of the event and there is going to be the end of the event. So usually at the start of the event, what we're doing, I said life begins when you step out of your comfort zone. I'm going to add into this little part here on this edge. This is the, let's just call this a um, new sensory. New sensory. So actually, when I have a start and an end, that implies there's time that goes by. So actually, this is the time element of in time and space for this event. Before the event starts, there are certain steps such as the conception and the birth of the event, which is further upstream, all the way to and through the start in the event, the end. Then after the event, there's the day after, the week after, the month after, the year after, decades, generations, and then legendary status, which is what we're going for, what we want. So the guests, the attendees, they enter. You remember from the previous sketch that I drew for you, the guests go through the event plane, into the event, and through the memory plane. So to continue that concept, there's the new sensory. So the audience is coming through time and space this way, through into the new sensory area. So by the way, just to draw it again, there's the floor plan, timeline, and the menu. So 1, 2, 3. Never going to have an event without those things. So now I want to go through the concept of, I left this important thing out. So this angle here, this is energy. So the event is the concept of epic events no one will ever forget. It's energy over time. Let me label that line. Energy over time. So what happens is, in today's microwave world, which was Norman Brown coined that phrase, he was a writer. He says it's a microwave world. Instant gratification. Ever since microwaves came out, basically, people expect more and more to have things right now, efficiently. You can do a ChatGPT search now faster than a Google search, for example. So people just want things now. They want microwavable popcorn. They want instant microwavable TV dinners. They want, instead of having to take your photos to the drugstore and have them developed, they want the pictures right now on their phone. So everybody wants now. It's instant gratification. Because of that, they have short attention spans. So I'm going to show you right now the attention span. There is the slope, the attention slope. So over time, you might have their attention in the beginning, but it fades. Now, I'm going to say the attention slope is throughout the night. So whenever you have an event, maybe it's a day event, or throughout the event, it's going to be multiple iterations, but I just put this attention slope as a single line for simplification. And you'll notice there's a gap here. So what you want to do is you've got to understand the concept of the attention slope, because on the attention slope, you want to try to keep their attention. You don't want them to drift off to sleep. You want to keep their attention during the event, or it won't be an epic event, or it won't be an excellent event. So there are many ways to, multiple attention interrupters Uh, I have one that's kind of not often used. It's called the cliffhanger. So I'm gonna write cliffhanger here, and it's like old school TV where the damsel in distress is hanging off the edge of the cliff at the end of the episode, and you have to tune in tomorrow to see what happens. So a cliffhanger is one way to keep the audience's attention. But there are many, many, many other ones. That's just one of my favorites. So you use techniques to keep the audience's attention. By the way, I forgot to label this the attention slope. I also want to point out there's another dimension to this whole event, time and space. It is, so I'm going to draw it in here like this. So we have it like a cube. And this other dimension here is, I'm going to call that the vibe. That is the vibe dimension. So now you've got the new sensory that the audience passes through. Energy over time is the concept. The attention slope, and using elements like the cliffhanger to keep the people's attention. There are many, many other ways to do it. And then to keep their attention besides the cliffhanger. Then I think it was Norman Lear from Universal Pictures who followed the method of the story arc. So we're going to introduce story arc into the recipe. So I'm going to make it as a dotted straight line. Story arc. There's the hero, there's the anti-hero, the villains. There's a cast of characters in your event or participants, and even sometimes in the planning. They introduce drama to help you with the story arc. You want to make sure the story arc resolves by the end of the event, not necessarily coupled in with another component later called the energy line. But there's also, with the story arc, there's this subplot. So then there's the dotted line of the subplot. Sometimes the subplot can be the cliffhanger, can be part of the story arc. So just keep that in mind, not to really confuse. So these are some elements that I want to point out. Then another component is really quite importantly is we'll call that the energy line. So you want to peak at the end with the energy of the event throughout from beginning to end. So if you are chaining together sub-events, a series of days, or maybe there's something before the lunch break and after the lunch break, or a series of weeks or days, you want to try to create it so that your energy flow is such that the energy peaks at the end or near the end. So maybe the event starts, people come in with a certain amount of energy. They come in, maybe there's a dinner program, maybe it just continues to climb. But you want to peak at the end or just before the end. So you want them to have you want to leave them so they want more. You don't want them to be disappointed. You want them to be looking for the encore. You want them to call you as the producer or as the event pro. You could use this same framework if you're just doing a birthday party, but you could use this framework if you're doing a festival or a rocket launch. This event, you're going to peak close to, if you go to a restaurant and they sing happy birthday and they bring the sparkler on top of the piece of cake, that's kind of a finale, but it's not quite the finale. You want to leave them wanting a little bit more. 99.9% is where you want to go with that. So that's the peak at the end thing. So if you have a series of events, you're going to end at the sub-event with some level of energy. The next sub-event may be higher or lower. The next sub-event may be higher. Then the final sub-event, it must be above any of the other finale points. So you peak at the end as far as on the energy scale. So you got the vibe plane, you've got the energy scale, you've got the timeline, you've got the story arc, you've got the subplot, you've got the attention slope, the energy line, the cliffhanger, the new sensory. All of those are building towards creating some new memory that will last a lifetime. So that's the basic framework for how to produce an epic event no one will ever forget. And I'll show you on the next one how we get there.